everyone, and welcome to the Snack Bar, where now you get your bi-weekly news or bi-weekly bites of everything movies. My name is Geraldine, and with me I have...
Hey everyone, I'm Jedd Yong.
Yep, so a lot of things have happened in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
A lot of new trailers, new news, good and bad, and and a very big movie just came out this week. But before we get to that, Jedd, what movies have you seen?
There are a bunch of movies I've seen over the last 2 weeks, so I'm trying to pick which ones I should talk about. I think I'll talk about 8 Days a Week, so that's something a little bit different. It's a documentary by Ron Howard about the Beatles and their touring days in the US.
Yeah, I saw the projector putting it up.
I liked it. Yeah, if you're a Beatles fan, you'll like it.
I think they're cool. I mean, I don't really listen to music, so...
Like, what I gleaned from the documentary is a side of them that I'm not familiar with because I wasn't around when they were doing their interviews or when they got big, and it shows what a big part of their appeal is their sense of humor, is how they carry themselves and how they just look like they're just four best friends who are hanging out, and everyone is welcome to join them and to hang out with them, and that kind of thing that they projected. It's so unmanufactured. It's so different from when you have a lot of pop groups that are slapped together by Simon Cowell in a boardroom. It's so different from that, and I think that it's quite eye-opening to see them. And also, you have that aspect of the documentary where they sort of get burned out. They're touring for so long, they're on the road for so long, and you see them at their lowest point talking about just they don't want to do it anymore. So it's kind of sad because you follow the track from when they're fresh-faced and when they're really excited and they're ready to take on the world, and then a few years later they're like, oh, we're really tired of this.
I see. So does it show their rise to fall? I guess not fall, but their decline in popularity?
Yeah, it shows how they really shot up the Billboard charts and what a sensation they made when they crossed over from the UK to the US, and then it shows the different directions that they took. But the documentary really only covers the touring years, so the period of time when they did their weird experimental stuff, that is only given a very quick mention, and then we don't get to the death of John Lennon and events like that followed they didn't really break up, but when they moved on to their separate things. I guess you can say they broke up. So it stops before that.
So what's so appealing about this documentary? Is it just for Beatles fans, or is it for people in... I don't know, because I like them, but I'm never interested in their lives, even though I'm pretty sure it's very interesting. But is it for people like me, or do you think I can get into it and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think you would enjoy it because there is a human element to this, and it covers both the Beatles themselves and also the phenomenon of Beatlemania. So they interview people who were on the inside. They interview the two surviving Beatles, Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney. I said Ringo's name first. And then they also interview fans. So they interview people who were on the outside, who were observing from the outside during that time. And one of the people they interview is Sigourney Weaver. Weaver, they found her face like when she was a teenager, or when she was a teenager, and she was one of the girls outside the stadium, and her face was in an archival photograph in a newspaper, and they tracked her down and said, were you at this concert at this time? And she said, yeah, that's me. So she talked about that experience, which is quite fun.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's little stories like that. And they also talk about how this was at the height of the civil rights movement, and the Beatles, they refused to perform at a stadium in Alabama that was segregated. So that decision led to the gradual abolishment of segregation in big stadiums in the South.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's little stuff like that I never knew. And the movie ends with the longest post-credit scene ever, which is basically after the credits, you stick around for a concert video. So they restore a concert that was recorded in 1965 at Shea Stadium. So it's remastered in 4K. They redid the sound, but honestly, I think the sound quality is still not great. But it's kind of fun to watch it as you would have seen it on TV back in the 60s.
So how long was the post-credit?
The post-credit scene is about half an hour because it is an actual chunk of the concert.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's attached to the end of the documentary.
Okay. Sounds very interesting. Well, hopefully, my mom is a huge Beatles fan, so maybe she'll rent it on iTunes and she'll tell me about it.
Yeah, it's I think that like Lennon and McCartney, that's one of the greatest partnerships in popular music. I think that Lennon and McCartney are a little bit like Charles and Eric in a way. Like it's a bromance, but at the same time they had their differences, they had their disagreements, but the partnership created some of the greatest popular music of the past century.
Yep. Anything else you want to talk about of note? What did you watch on Tuesday?
What did I watch on Tuesday? Oh, the movie I just watched
Close?
was Masterminds, which is the
Oh.
yeah, it's a comedy
Oh, wow.
based on a true story. I don't think it's
I heard
great.
that was terrible.
Yeah, okay, I will admit to laughing quite a bit because the cast is super funny. Zach Galifianakis, Kristen Wiig, Owen Wilson, Leslie Jones, Kate McKinnon, lots of funny people in that cast. Jason Sudeikis, but they always settle for the most obvious joke. So it's always lowest common denominator stuff. There's a lot of bodily function gags, fart jokes, that kind of thing. And it's stuck in a no man's land because it wants to be crazy and silly, but it's also based on a true story. So it cannot really do both at the same time.
So don't watch it. I was never gonna watch it anyway, but
not really, yeah.
Yeah.
What else did I watch? Oh, I want to talk about Fallen.
Fallen is which one?
Have you heard of this? It's so obscure. Like I had not heard about it until I got the invitation for the screening, and it's everything that's wrong with YA paranormal romance is this movie.
Fallen? Was it? Who does it star?
It stars Addison Timlin, Jeremy Irvine, and other guy whose name I don't remember, Harrison Gilbertson or something like that. So it's Twilight, but with fallen angels instead of werewolves and vampires.
Oh, okay. I've seen the novel before.
Yeah.
I think I read it when I was in secondary school.
It's like famously bad, right? This book.
I have no idea.
It's
I've read so many YA when I was in secondary school that they all just blended together.
Oh my gosh, this movie is so bad, but I think it's so bad it's good, honestly. It's ridiculous because they take all of it so seriously, and all of the tropes and cliches are so obvious. And there's even a scene where like the nerdy guy he says, I've created an algorithm to do facial recognition. So they take the photo of the Edward type character and then they run it through the computer, and it matches this photograph from the 1800s. Oh no.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Gosh. And then it begins with a voiceover going, there were angels who followed Lucifer into hell, and there were angels who stayed with God in heaven, and then there was the rebel angel who was cursed to walk the earth in a sexy manner. And then, it's so bad.
According to Wikipedia, it says the launch will be on November 10th in the Philippines, Singapore, and Malaysia. It is still unknown when the movie will launch in USA, United Kingdom, and Australia.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the 3 countries that it's coming out from, you can't make money out of it.
Yeah, it's...
Oh, sorry, that was my cat.
Hi, cat.
Do you hear that?
Yeah, leave it in the recording. It gives it authenticity. Oh, yeah, it's so weird because it doesn't have a release date in the US and the UK, which you think would be the base. And even by now, you think they would have signed like a Hulu thing or Netflix thing, would have gone straight to streaming VOD.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I'm pretty sure we'll do that.
And, honestly, the acting
I've never heard of any of these actors, too.
The acting is not terrible. Jeremy Irvine, the Edward type character, he's the guy from Warhorse.
Oh, I didn't watch that.
Oh, okay. He's actually pretty good, and he was in The Railway Man. He was playing the young version of Colin Firth. So he's a fairly serious, like, young English actor. Addison Timlin I kind of like. She was on Californication, but I didn't watch a lot of that show. I don't mind the nerdy best friend because that's always my favorite archetype. So the nerdy best friend in this movie, she's kind of cute. She's like the muggle, so she's the one like normal person in the school.
I bet, if this movie is going to get a sequel, she's going to take out her glasses and she'll be beautiful or something like that. I don't know. It sounds like that type.
I can neither confirm nor deny, but I'm pretty sure this won't get a sequel because oh gosh,
Yeah, of course not.
yeah,
There is no way.
it's and when they
Okay,
reveal
okay.
the angel wings, it's so bad. It just looks like they didn't have money for actual wings.
Could I ask you, which one is worse, this or Jupiter's Ascending?
I'm a terrible person to ask because I like Jupiter Ascending, you see. I like it
Okay.
on the level of that it's a weird space opera, but obviously people put effort into it. Obviously the story's crap, but the design is incredible. A lot of the action scenes I think are pretty well done. I like the intricacy of the sets, the costumes, and just how crazy a lot of the alien designs are. The whole hybrid animal thing I think is not a terrible idea. And I think it's silly, but people obviously put effort into it. People did not put effort into Fallen.
Because I've only seen Channel Awesome do a review on Jupiter's Ascending, and I laugh so hard at that. I love dogs. I've always loved dog scenes.
Yeah, it's I don't know how much of it is supposed to be taken seriously. That's the thing. I think that Jupiter Ascending is kind of a little bit self-aware. I think that it might be a stealth parody of Chosen Girl YA tropes because it's that. Mila Kunis she finds out, oh, I'm the reincarnation of the intergalactic queen. Little old me, the girl who's scrubbing toilets for rich people. And I think that Channing Tatum is not terrible in it. I also like Sean Bean. He's the Obi-Wan. He's the wise mentor. And Eddie Redmayne is like he's terrible in this, but it's a pretty fun kind of terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's.
So
Fallen.
you didn't watch any good movies the past 2 weeks besides the Beatles movie?
I did. I was kind of surprised by Ouija, the Origin of Evil.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Like I was expecting that to be terrible because the first movie is really bad, but this one it's interesting. It's scary. It's quite scary. It's set in the 70s, and the director's vision is such that the movie looks like it was a movie made in the 70s. They use the 70s Universal logo, and then they have fake cigarette burns as if someone is changing the reels of the projector. And it's little details like that which I really liked. And the three main
very smart.
It is. The three main characters are women, so it's a family. It's a single mom. It's her two daughters, and the older girl is a skeptic. But things start happening around her that she can't deny. Yeah, and the other good movie that I watched, very different good movie, but they do have something in common. I can't say what it is because it's a spoiler. Is Denial. So this is based on a true story. It stars Rachel Weisz, and it's about this professor who was sued for defamation by a Holocaust denier. So this guy claims that Hitler did not give an executive order to massacre the Jews. He claims that there was no such thing as the Holocaust. So this was a real court case in the UK where this history professor was debating this crazy guy who claims that there's no such thing as the Holocaust. And it's really well done. I like Rachel Weisz a lot. I think that she's one of those actors who you believe is very intelligent. So when she plays like an academic, you're like, sure, I buy that. And it's got a solid supporting cast. Andrew Scott that's his name, right? From Moriarty from Sherlock. He's her lawyer. And then her other lawyer is Tom Wilkinson. And the bad guy is Timothy Spall. I can't remember who Timothy Spall was in Harry Potter, but he was a guy in Harry Potter.
I'll go check it out. Okay, that sounds really interesting. Do you think this is Oscar bait?
A little bit, but it's good. It's I don't think it was condescending, and I don't think it was emotionally manipulative, which it really could have been. And there's a scene which they did film on location in Auschwitz, which is very heartbreaking. Very intense scene, but a very quiet scene as well. I think they could have handled it with much less nuance than they did, so I like how that turned out.
Anyway, Timothy Spall, he played the rat, Peter Pettigrew.
Oh, cool.
In the Harry Potter films.
Yeah. So he's the bad guy. He's the Nazi.
He blew my mind as a child.
He's the Holocaust denier, and he has so much fun in this movie because he's really like pompous and stuck up and full of himself. And a very despicable guy, of course, because this is based on the first-hand account of the woman, of Deborah Lipstadt, so it's based on her book. So it's obviously going to take her side. But then again, you would take her side.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I want to talk about was the boy version of Fallen, Max Steel.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
You said that you're gonna watch it the next day in our
Yes.
previous podcast, and I was very excited for you to watch that. How was it?
Oh, it's so bad. It's very much nothing of a movie because it's all origin story tropes, but at the same time it's really dull and not very interesting to look at. And the main character, he's so bland and kind of whiny. I like the female lead. I like Anya Villafanier. But the thing is that they have a meet cute and then she's totally falling for him no matter how weird or heretic his behavior is, and there's never any doubt as to whether or not they're going to end up. So it makes this character very hard to relate to because isn't that like you have to have all these movies have to begin where the girl is with the job and then like the nerdy guy's like, oh, I wish she would notice me, and then he gets superpowers and stuff like Spider-Man. But that's not how it goes in this one. In this one it's sort of like there's almost nothing. They don't have a lot of chemistry and it's just like, I guess I have to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then respectable actors are slumming it here. Maria Bello is the mom, and Andy Garcia is the mentor guy. And oh
Yeah.
gosh, the character of Steel, who is this floating robot alien, is so annoying. It's basically if Navi from Legend of Zelda had a child with 343 Guilty Spark from Halo. You know, the Hey You.
Well, that's a very interesting comparison, but okay.
Yeah, it's floating around yelling "Hey you" at the camera, and it's the concept is that.
So I guess that character is the exposition character
And the comic relief, and so annoying. And the concept is that the superhero of Max Steel is formed when the robot ball bonds to the boy, so it sort of wraps itself around him, and he becomes like a Venom symbiote kind of thing.
So it's like Miraculous Ladybug. Sorry.
I don't know enough about that show, but I think that's the right idea. And the physical suit looks fine because it's made by Legacy Effects. They're the guys that do Iron Man, so of course it's gonna be okay. Oh gosh, this is such a boring movie. It's supposed to sell toys.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something happy now. I'm sure you love it. I haven't read your review yet. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, I hadn't had the time, but I'm gonna listen to it. So Jedd, let's talk about Doctor Strange, the new Marvel film. What is it about?
Doctor Strange is the 14th, if you can believe it, movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Our hero is Dr. Stephen Strange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch. He's a brilliant but self-absorbed neurosurgeon, and he works at a hospital with his colleague and ex-girlfriend, Dr. Christine Palmer, played by Rachel McAdams. And Dr. Christine Palmer is one of the few surgeons whom he approves of or whom he thinks could potentially be on his level. One day he gets into a terrible car accident and he loses the use of his hands. His hands are damaged beyond repair. So unable to find treatment within the realm of Western medicine, he asks around, and eventually his quest leads him to Kathmandu in Nepal, where he finds the sanctuary called Karmataj. So Karmataj is run by the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton, who is a mystic with unfathomable powers, and she trains Stephen Strange in the mystic arts. So he spends some time at this sanctuary, and he's also guided along by Wong, played by Benedict Wong, who is the guardian keeper of the artifacts in Karmataj's library, and Carl Mordo, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, who is another student of the Ancient One. And they're being threatened by Caecilius, played by Mads Mikkelsen. Caecilius is a rogue student of the Ancient One who splintered off into his own cell with a bunch of his own people, and they are intent on destroying the order that the Ancient One has been maintaining. So it's up to Stephen Strange with his newfound superpowers to battle Caecilius and his gang, as the fate of reality as we know it lies in the balance.
Nice. So what did you think of this movie?
I liked it. It's like, I've heard it said that it's basically Iron Man, but you take away the technology and replace it with magic. I think that's kind of accurate.
Well, I like this more than the first. Okay, I'll be honest. I'm not a fan of the first Iron Man. I
Mhm.
guess it's because of all the hype that it got. So
That's fair. Yeah.
when I watched it, I was really underwhelmed. But I like this a lot more, and I didn't feel like he is the same character as Tony Stark, as a lot of people seem to
Yeah,
get.
I don't think he is. I agree with you.
We agree on a lot of things, Jedd. Yeah. So I remembered you saying that you didn't think that Benedict Cumberbatch was. Sorry. Oh, dang it! Do you know that I called him Cumberbatch in front of my mom?
Cumberbatch.
Yes.
I'm sure he's heard it before. I'm sure he's heard it in school or whatever fancy English prep school he went to.
Okay. Anyway, I wonder what school did he went to. Okay. Anyway, besides the point. What do you like him as Doctor Strange? Because I'm not too familiar with this character, but I do really love Benedict Cumberbatch in this role. Oh my god, I need to say his name right. I love Cumberbatch more because it rolls off the tongue better. But anyway.
Yeah. I did a complete 180. When they cast him, I was like, you're only doing this because you're riding the Sherlock wave. But I did not have any doubt in his acting abilities, and it's super gratifying to watch an actor take a role based on a comic book character so seriously. He's doing Shakespeare in this movie. He's really all in. He's not phoning in it at all. He's not treating it as any less than any other role, and that made me really happy as a geek in general. I was like, yeah, we've arrived as a culture where there is this actor who is so acclaimed and so respectable and who is very good at what he does, playing a comic book character, which I know we've already had that with Robert Downey Jr., who is an Oscar winner, and we've had a bunch of really respectable actors show up in supporting roles, but it's never hit me as much as watching Benedict Cumberbatch play Doctor Strange.
Well, to me, it was X-Men that made me realize that a lot of. I mean, come on, you have Peter
Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
Patrick Stewart and I was thinking of Peter Pettigrew.
Right.
I mean, those two are just amazing in the X-Men films, but I guess it's because they're not the main characters. But even Robert Downey Jr., he was in a rut.
Yeah.
When he was cast to play as Iron Man, so it's really nice to see, like you said, an actor like Benedict Cumberbatch. Oh, I'm so scared I'll say his name. Can I just call him Sherlock?
Yeah, you can call him.
I feel like that would be so much
easier
for me.
Sherlock, yeah.
Alright. I think Sherlock was great in this. His American accent is really good.
It's
like
flawless.
I did not.
It's freaking awesome.
I was watching the film. I'm like, oh yeah, he's British, and it's so good. Like it's amazing, and his humor is so on point, and he's great. Like I think he's the reason why this film is as good as it is, because the story is not amazing. Like it's very predictable. It's like any Marvel origin story ever.
Yeah, it's hero's journey stuff.
And you can, they even have like the old master and the villain and all those characters that you have in an origin film, the love interest and stuff like that. But I think what makes this really fun, of course, is the visuals. It's Sherlock Holmes. Oh, and that cameo, that Sherlock Holmes not Easter egg that they had. Oh, I love that. Did you see that?
I'm not sure if I did. You're gonna have to say that in the spoiler section, and then I'll let you know whether or not I caught that. Yeah, because there's so many little fun Easter eggs in this movie, and I'm sure I've missed quite a lot.
I'm sure I've missed all of them because that's the only one I remember.
Yeah, and
he's great.
So one of my concerns before going in was that it's not going to be weird enough. And then after that, I was like, yeah, it's weird enough. And I still hear people say that it's not weird enough, but usually people who say that are people who read the comics. And in the comics, they do a lot of really trippy stuff that you can do within comics, but would be prohibitive when you do it in live action. And I think that they got away with quite a lot. I love the action sequences. I love the use of the shifting Escher geometry as a landscape for them to fight on, that just when you think that you're about to reach the other guy, something splits off and flies away and you're completely thrown off balance. I love that stuff. I think that stuff is really fun to watch.
I really wonder who the director of photography is. I mean, it is. How do you even think of that? Like, even from the drawing board, I can't imagine someone who is that creative without taking drugs, you know?
I think
And
that
then they're able to draw out the whole scene and the whole action sequence. It's amazing. Like what you say, the action sequences in this, it's really good. It reminds me a little bit of Inception, of course, but then again, Inception, it's inspired by a Japanese anime movie.
by
So,
Paprika, yeah.
mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't think it's good to say that, you know, it's copying off Inception.
That was what I thought at first. Because that was the one image they kept on using in the trailers. They kept on using the folding city, and then I thought that was the most they were going to do. But I was wrong, and they did a lot more than that. So I'm glad they saved some of the trippier stuff, some of the weirdest, most astonishing visuals for the movie itself, and they didn't put those in the trailer, because I'm sure it must have been very tempting to put, like, the very first time Doctor Strange experiences the weirdness. That sequence is nuts. That's so good. So we will have to get into the details of that in spoilers. I was gonna say that I like this better than Civil War. I think that this has a lot more of a novelty factor, if only because of the visuals. That Civil War was fine, but it's samey, you know, and this is something different.
Well, to me, Civil War was an alright film. I didn't really get into it. Then again, I didn't really get into all the comic book movies this year, so I guess Doctor Strange is the one that I like the most, because it's fun throughout, even though the story is not great, but I had so much fun with this film.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a balance between how far do we go, how weird do we go, but Feige and the people at Marvel have to understand that the mass audience they're trying to reach may not be as familiar with the source material as the hardcore geeks who are kind of the base, because these movies go out to everywhere, and even if you have watched every single Marvel movie, there might still be things that will turn you off or that will alienate you. So it's always a balance. It's like you have to slide the scale. You cannot go too far towards formula, but you also can't go too far towards weird, just unexplainable stuff that doesn't make sense, because then you're gonna lose people. So I think that was a conflict behind.
Like me.
Yeah, because Doctor Strange is not a super well-known character. He is he's not obscure, but he does not have the exposure so far that, of course, Spider-Man or Iron Man, Captain America has had. So you have to start with an origin story. I think maybe they didn't even want to. I'm sure that at one point the discussion was like, can we just jump in the middle? But no, you've got to show us Cumberbatch and Cumberbatch. You've got to show us that.
Yeah, and I think that they did a fantastic... I don't know in comparison to Doctor Strange, but in introducing magic to this world, or sorcery, whatever it's called, I think they did a fantastic job, because it's easy to understand, oh, okay, this is how it works in this universe. And, as far as I'm concerned, they didn't seem to be breaking any of their rules that they set up, which is interesting because there seems to be so much happening in terms of sorcery, but it stuck to the rules and it made it so visually interesting. I love when they're trying to draw the circle. I love the first time you see how Sherlock tries to get back to the temple when he was stuck at some other place.
Yeah,
I'm not sure whether this is considered a spoiler,
when the
but I
Ancient
love
One
how
dumped
that
him
scene
in
was played out.
Everest.
Yes. Amazing. I love that.
Then Mordo was like, oh no, not again. It's like she does that with every recruit.
Yeah, I think visually, because Lucas, he actually told me that he felt the visual effects were fake. Like, it felt very fake, but I think that's the style that they were going for.
I think the visual effects in this movie are brilliant. I think these are some of the best visual effects I've seen all year. Yeah.
What was the best visual effects I've seen this year?
I think this needs to be up for this is the
Jungle
Book. The Jungle Book. The Jungle Book will win, but this needs to be up for an Oscar.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I would put this in over Civil War if I were Marvel. I would not submit Civil War. I would submit this.
Of course they would. I think one of the draws of this film is definitely the visuals, which is also interesting because the Doctor Strange trailers didn't really have a lot of these visual effects inside.
yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, that the only thing we kept on seeing were the folding cities. And I was like, is that it? Is that all you have? And clearly they were hiding stuff, so I'm happy that they did.
Yeah. So let's go into other characters. The ancient one. Did you like her? Do you think? Oh, Tilda Swinton was great in it, and they should have casted her. I mean, I'm glad they cast her instead of some Asian person.
So this is the elephant in the room, and actually I'm very happy to talk about this. So you would have seen on like I posted up on my Facebook, there is this guy who left a comment, and it's one of those, it's one of those alpha male type comments where it's like, this is what happens in a society where you're not being chased by saber-toothed tigers or worrying about dying from the Black Plague in the middle of winter. You worry about trite nonsense like this. And I love comments like that because there's not even any attempt to edit away the assholishness. And I think, that's entertaining, because when people get into that line of reasoning, they shoot themselves in the foot a lot. And this person was very proud of the fact that he realized, oh, the reason why this change was made, why a white person was cast instead of an Asian man, was to appease the China film market, because China would be offended if the character were Tibetan. But come on, they already moved Kamartaj to Nepal, and Nepal and China are friendly. So that's already been circumvented. So the writer, or the co-writer, C. Robert Cargill, he said that this situation is like the Kobayashi Maru. It's like the unwinnable simulation in Star Trek. Either way you go with this character, you're gonna piss somebody off because it's so culturally sensitive. But what I'm saying is, you're trying to avoid the Asian mystic who teaches a white man to find himself stereotype. But by changing the character into a white person, you're just shifting racism tracks. It's a parallel kind of racist. It's not worse, but it's not better. And I think that, okay, let's be real here. Yes, it is a problematic archetype. The magical Negro, the magical Asian person. We still see that, and we are trained to be more sensitive to that. But at the end of the day, the characters are usually not portrayed negatively. It's not like a huge gang of triads running at you, or everybody is Yakuza. It's different than that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I can say. I agree.
Thank you. And I mean,
because I'm honestly okay with stereotypes like that. I mean, it is a little bit annoying that that's the only roles Asians get in Hollywood, but at the same time, it's like, oh, that's a badass role. Well, I want to get that kind of role, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Ancient One is so important to the origin of Doctor Strange. And the way they wrote the character in this movie, they gave her a lot of layers. She was not just spouting fortune cookie aphorisms. She had a wisdom to her. She had a depth to her. She had things that she was hiding. I think they handled the character really well in terms of the writing, and I think that if they had written it, it would not have. I think a lot less people would have been offended if they had kept this as an Asian man. But I mean, I have two alternatives. One alternative is Michelle Yeoh. The other alternative is make this a Dr. Parnassus type situation where you have 3 to 4 actors who share the role of the Ancient One, and they morph from one into the other simultaneously, which throws Stephen off his game at first, but then he realizes, okay, this is what I've gotten myself into. So a kind of a one is many a one situation where you can share the role with 3 to 4 very diverse, big name actors in the supporting cast.
That sounds expensive.
It sounds expensive, but I think that it would have been an out of the box way to handle this. And okay, if it's going to be expensive, one of the actors could be a child. What if suddenly she morphs into a child? Yeah, so that character wouldn't be a star, but then your 3 to 4 or your 3 other characters would be perhaps international stars, somebody who's famous in China or somebody who's famous in Europe, and they share the role.
China pandering is one of my favorite things this century, by the way.
And it's so weird really that there isn't any in this movie that I mean, it kind of is pandering to China by shifting it to Nepal, but I don't think anyone noticed. I don't think anyone is bothered that this is Nepal and not Tibet. Same mountain range,
Well, China people still think that Hong Kong is theirs, right? So maybe Hong Kong.
Yeah. And
People in Hong Kong don't share that sentiment though.
No, yeah, as we saw with the Arrival poster thing where they plugged the Oriental Pearl Tower in the Hong Kong skyline, and Hong Kongers were not happy.
All right. So I like her too. I mean, she's alright. She plays. She's not like Dumbledore or Gandalf, but she's okay.
There's a bit.
I do love her.
Sorry, go ahead.
I love. Right before the third act, she had this talk with Sherlock, and I thought like that was really nice. Like you see her emoting, and you know she's supposed to be like the stoic type, but you see her worrying about things like this, and she's still worried about her own mortality, which I think is really interesting. That she showed that part of herself to us as an audience, and yeah, I really love that scene. I love the dialogue there.
That scene was spectacular. That is probably my favorite part of the film, when they're standing on the balcony and they're watching the lightning. That was beautiful. I was stunned. I was like, this is really, really beautiful. It's acted so sensitively by both of them. The use of visual effects is very subtle, and it's written really nicely. And when a scene like that can be super cheesy, the kind of dialogue or the subject that they are discussing, it can be done. It can be written in a way that betrays the fact that the writer has no idea what he or she's talking about. But this is done very beautifully. I was really impressed by that scene.
Yeah, honestly, I think this is like one of the best written scenes in Marvel films.
Yeah.
Yes, I would go that far to say that.
It's the heart of
very
the movie,
hard. Yeah, it's very heartwarming and it's very sad, but it's really, really well done.
And it's very honest. It's very real. And I think a lot of these movies, whether they're from Marvel or they're from DC, they have a lot of artifice to them, because there's so many layers of production. There's visual effects, there's stunts, there's all of this blockbuster stuff that is sometimes difficult to see the heart of it. And this one, you can see the heart of it. It's that scene.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Chiwetel Ejiofor's character.
Yep.
I'm not sure what his character is called.
Mordo.
Mordo. Okay, I didn't write it here. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I really like him.
Yeah.
I just love seeing him in things. I'm glad he's in this huge Marvel film, and I'm glad he's probably gonna play an even bigger role in the next Doctor Strange film.
Yeah, Chiwetel Ejiofor is very, very talented, and I really wanted him to win the Oscar for 12 Years a Slave.
Yes, me too.
That was the year that Matthew McConaughey won. And I'm not saying that Matthew McConaughey doesn't deserve it, but I wanted Chiwetel Ejiofor to win.
Yeah. He's fantastic in 12 Years a Slave. Like, I cried so much in that film.
Yeah.
It was so good.
And Cumberbatch is in it as well.
Huh, I didn't know he was in The Martian.
Yeah, he was in The Martian with Benedict Wong. So there's like a Venn diagram.
Oh yeah.
But,
Wong is great in this film.
Oh yeah, but let's
fantastastic side character.
Let's do Mordo first. So funny story.
Yeah,
the Chiwetel Ejiofor's role in The Martian was intended for Irfan Khan. It was an Indian character, but when Irfan Khan, he was not free because he was doing a Bollywood movie, they rewrote it and then they gave it to Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Okay.
Yeah. In this movie, like, I was confused when I saw the trailer and when I saw the stills and everything, because it's like, why is Mordo fighting alongside Strange? Mordo is a villain in the comics, and I like how they handled the character. In this one, I think he's portrayed similarly in the Doctor Strange animated film, which is also an origin story. So, and I think he's a black man in that movie as well. Chiwetel Ejiofor, he has this thing where he can play really straight-laced, by-the-book characters, but there's a bit of a twinkle in his eye. He has a liveliness underneath the decorum, so he's not flat, you know.
Yeah.
And there's this training scene where he's jumping around and he's flying around. And it's quite a bit of fun.
I really love this. I love him in this role, but maybe it's because I love this actor. I think a lot of these characters, I love these characters because of the actors.
Yeah, because you don't really have an attachment to the characters from the comics. Yeah,
but and they're all, like I said, they're all the character archetypes.
Yeah, they're all stock characters. It's like, someone opened a Joseph Campbell book and poured them out.
Yeah. So but anyway, I really enjoyed him in this role. I like why he comes into conflict with Benedict Cumberbatch. and I really like that side of him, and I'm glad that he had a bigger role than I anticipated him to have.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see him. Oh, there's so much spoilers here, but yeah, I like how his character turned out in the end.
Yeah, we'll talk about
It's
that.
very
in spoilers,
cool. It's very cool to see his character grow that way. It's so hard not to say anything.
Did you predict that that's how the character would end up? Did you have a feeling that that's where it was going?
Yes, definitely.
Cool. Yeah, I think that was intentional. I don't think they were trying to hide that.
I'm really glad that they kept in that Wi-Fi joke. So good.
Shambhala. Yeah, because there is a Doctor Strange comic book arc called Into Shambhala. Or True Shambhala, something like that, where in the story he's like given the opportunity to usher the whole of humanity into a new golden age of enlightenment, but the price he has to pay is too high. It's one of those metaphysical, philosophical things.
Mm-hmm.
That's a funny joke, but I can't help but think doesn't access to the internet come into conflict with the philosophy? Aren't you supposed to clear your mind of worldly influence and like remove attachment to the world? Isn't that like it's kind of a Zen Buddhism thing?
Well, the Buddhist temples, as we've seen from Conan, they now have TV
That's
and
right.
satellites.
Yeah. So
they're not savages.
I just thought that it would be a kind of like a very strict thing, like hand in your phones, hand in your laptops. You're gonna be immersed in your training for the period of time that you're here. But I'm kind of glad that that's not what it is. So they don't. Yeah, it's that's one of the things I liked about Karmatash in this movie is that it did not seem oppressive. It did not seem overly regimented. It looked like there was discipline, but there was also nurturing. Like the Ancient One is not a hard ass.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's my favorite kind of mentor character, where there's wisdom and there's nurturing there, and they are stoic, but they are not yelling at you. They're not J.K. Simmons and Whiplash. Yeah.
They're not Ben Affleck's dad in The Accountant.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, which I mean, that really I felt really emotional watching those scenes because I was like, yeah, I'm sure this happens to a lot of kids with special needs. And in any case, yeah, I like that. I like the mythos they built, that they established the atmosphere and the environment of Karmatash, and also the relationship that the Ancient One has with her pupils and with the people who are running the place with her. And yeah, there's a bit of like a buddy pairing with Mordo and Wong and Strange at the end, and I like how the dynamic was balanced.
I love Wong and Strange's relationship. It's adorable.
Yeah, let's talk about Wong. Oh, so cool. I love.
He's the best character,
Yay,
hands down.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Wong's so much fun. In the comics, he is a very subservient butler who pours tea for Doctor Strange.
Sorry, he's the what?
He's a very subservient butler. He pours tea for Doctor Strange. He's like, yes, anything you want, sir, that kind of character. And occasionally he will do kung fu. So they reinvented him in this. He is kind of like the no-nonsense librarian who will glare at the smart aleck kid. And that's his role.
Yeah.
Which makes him funny because he's the straight man. And he gets to be the straight...
But he's fantastic in it.
Yeah. He gets to be the straight man opposite Strange.
I love his laugh. It's adorable. Okay, I feel like we've talked so many good things about Doctor Strange. Let's talk about the bad stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Unless you think that the villain is a good thing in this film.
Marvel villain problem trademark registered. Yeah. Disappointing that that's what happened, but not surprising either. Okay, I think I was forgiving of Caecilius because unlike Daniel Brühl as Baron Zemo in Civil War, I did not completely forget about him the moment I walked out of the theater. Because with Civil War, I wrote the review, I forgot to talk about Zemo. I read through the paragraphs like, oh yeah, Zemo. And then I went back and added the paragraph. That did not happen with Doctor Strange. So in comparison, I was more forgiving. But Caecilius is a dull character. It's just not interesting. The archetype here is a pupil of mine before he turned to evil, which is how Obi-Wan describes Darth Vader in Episode 4. So that's just who he is.
Yeah. Well, he's fine. I need to I don't know, because I feel like Marvel, they care about the villains as much as we do, which means we don't really care about them, and that's not their point.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
it's
fair.
just kind of maddening because a lot of it rides on the charisma of their actors, and I think this is the clearest it has ever been, that the characters themselves are not that well written, but it's the actors
Who carry it?
who
Yeah.
up, yeah, they carry the characters, and it's just so sad. But maybe the next Doctor Strange villain will have a better. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. But he'll get a better role. But they really messed this one up again. I mean, he's not terrible, and I don't know whether I'll remember him in 2 weeks, but he's one of the more memorable Marvel villains, I guess. Like, I can't even remember Guardians of the Galaxy's one.
You don't
I know he was
remember
blue.
Ronan, Nebula?
Ronan, yes. Nebula I remember because her makeup was amazing.
Yeah, I
But
like that Nebula was in that as a lieutenant to Ronan. Sometimes the henchmen are more interesting.
I mean, you look at the villain in this one, he's visually not interesting.
I like the
He
scarring.
looks like he looks like he should be a Chinese man.
I like the scar, the Dark Universe scar. Like there are stars within the scar. I thought that was a fun visual.
Yeah, but his man bun. Did he have a man bun? He had a man bun, right?
Yeah, he did, because I think the idea was that he was a pupil of the Ancient One, so he had kept the robes and he had kept kind of the aesthetic. Mads Mikkelsen, he's an amazing actor. Mads Mikkelsen is very charismatic, very commanding, and he can unsettle you doing very little. He was lined up to be in Thor: The Dark World. He was going to be Malekith, and this is definitely a better character than Malekith the Accursed, who ended up being played by Christopher Eccleston.
Malekith is who?
Yeah, that's the
He's
thing.
the villain. He's the villain, and he's the time. Was it the Dimension guy? I don't know. I slept in Thor 2, so I don't think it was just the villain that was the problem.
He's the Dark Elf. He has a long white ponytail, and he is kind of like a.
I don't remember him.
Yeah.
I'll go search that up.
So he was going to be in that role, and then Hannibal came along, and he had to commit to Hannibal. So they like put him on the shelf, and I'm sure Feige was like, we really like him, and we're going to use him for something. And Mads Mikkelsen has the distinction of being in a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie and a Star Wars movie less than a month apart from each other, which is about a month apart from each other, which is a very, very big deal. Because he's
alright.
Yeah, he's in Rogue One playing Jyn Erso's dad.
Is that a villain?
In the trailer, it looks like he might be a reluctant villain because he is one of the architects of the Death Star, and that is why they recruited Felicity Jones's character, because her dad has something to do with the building of the Death Star, and she's not been in contact with her dad for a long time yet. So that is the plot of the latest trailer, which I was avoiding, but I could not avoid when I was in the theater watching Doctor Strange.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I don't mind knowing that. I don't mind knowing that Mads Mikkelsen is her dad. And yeah, a bunch of people are going to be in both Star Wars and the MCU. I mean, like Donald Glover is going to be Lando, and then he's also going to be in Spider-Man Homecoming, and then like Mace Windu, Samuel L. Jackson is in Star Wars and in MCU. Lupita Nyong'o, Andy Serkis. So it's a growing club.
All them rich kids.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Anything bad? Anything else bad about Doctor Strange you want to talk about?
Yeah, it is
The story's alright, right?
It is formula, right? But here's the thing: formula works when there are things to support it, and I think that the plot needed to be this easy to follow if they wanted to add in the visual trickery, if they wanted to switch things up. So they did not take as many risks as I was hoping with the narrative, but at the same time, I think they took risks with the imagery. So I'm fine with the trade-off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's really hard not to say anything. It's really hard to say anything bad about this film because it makes you feel so good.
Yeah, because it's a perfect example of these are people who've been practicing this and who've more or less perfected the formula over 14 movies. And I guess now that we've seen them do something different visually, it would be fun to see them turn the narrative on its ear. I guess you need to build the base with Doctor Strange. You need an origin story, but maybe you're gonna take chances with the sequel, and he's gonna appear in a bunch of other MCU movies besides his sequel, as you would know from news and other stuff, which we'll get into in spoilers. So
Did you like? Sorry. Go on.
no, I'm done. Go ahead.
Did you like the Stanley cameo?
Okay.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I like the Stanley cameo because he was reading Through the Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley, and he's reading a book about going on a drug trip. He's reading a book that was written by an author who took peyote in the desert and who is writing about his experiences and all the stuff he saw when he was on drugs.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't even know that.
It's so clever. I think this is the only Stanley cameo with an extra joke layered underneath. So it's automatically one of my favorites.
And we just had the worst Stanley cameo this year too, which was X-Men. I've got, is it Days of Future?
Apocalypse,
no,
yeah.
Apocalypse.
When he's looking up at the rocket with his wife, it's like, no, why do you do that? We're in the middle of a serious moment, and you pull us out of it. Yeah, this one was fun, and he was reading the book, he's going, haha, that's hilarious. And while everything is going crazy outside, and he's absorbed in the book, so he doesn't notice.
My favorite Stanley cameo is still the one in The Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, the librarian!
Yes, that was so
That's
good.
That's funny, yeah. I think my favorite one of all time is in Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, where he's rejected from the wedding.
Oh, yes.
And he goes, I'm Stanley.
I've only seen that part because I've never seen the whole of Fantastic Four. I always just give up halfway.
It is that kind of movie, isn't it? Yeah, because in the comics, Jack Kirby drew himself and Stan Lee being rejected from the wedding of Sue and Richard. So it was an homage to that, yeah.
That's amazing.
So I like
Damn, Jedd, you know your stuff.
I try to justify my existence on this show.
Okay, okay, both of us definitely recommend it. So let's just go on to spoilers because there's so much to talk about in spoilers.
Yeah, let's go.
Alright. Okay, first of all, I feel like this is going to create a lot of controversy, but what did you think of the climax of the film where it is just Benedict Cumberbatch dying and dying again in order to defeat the evil guy?
You saw the little cartoon that I sent you, right?
Yes, I did.
It's so cute.
So cute.
Yeah. I like him being impaled. Like yeah, I think, okay, that's fun because it is... How many of these movies have we seen where it's a giant fight in a city?
And there's something there's a hole in the sky that they have to stop.
Yes, there's a hole in the sky and they need to evacuate the people who are going to be eaten by the hole in the sky. Or the stuff coming out of the hole in the sky are going to threaten the people. So I like that because the climax is twofold. You have him confronting Dormammu in Dormammu's Dark Dimension, but you also have the street fight with Wong and Mordo battling Caecilius' goons in the street, right, in Hong Kong. So I like that we were splitting our attention between those two places. So you have the satisfaction of the violence or the action that you expect of a superhero movie climax, but you also have an out of the box, an orthodox, like, metaphysical way of defeating the big bad.
I love it. Like, I think it's such a smart climax. And I love that it's a small climax in a huge, big blockbuster film like this.
Yeah.
And it's a smart way to defeat the villain too. You threaten that you'll annoy him to death until he gives up and leaves everyone alone. And I think that's so smart and that's so creative. And I've never seen this done in any superhero or even big blockbuster big blockbuster films before. And it's so smart. And I love it so much. And it's so funny. And I feel like it never got old for something that just repeated. It's like Edge of Tomorrow, you know?
Or Groundhog Day.
Enjoy seeing him die again and again.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
Yeah, it was really clever when I figured out, like, oh, this is what's gonna happen. He's just gonna do this until he's gonna run out the clock on Dormammu. And it reminded me a little bit of obnoxious reference, but it reminded me a little bit of in The Seventh Seal, where the main character is playing chess with death himself. So you have the idea of somebody who's mortal and finite, who's a human being, who is facing off against this cosmic, unexplainable, unfathomable force far beyond his control. But he is vexing, he is frustrating, and he's playing tricks on basically a god. And I like that. I thought that was fun. When they cast Mads Mikkelsen, I was like, I hope Mads Mikkelsen is Dormammu. And then they said he was Caecilius, and I was like, I hope they mentioned Dormammu. So when they mentioned Dormammu earlier on, I was like, okay, they're setting up for him to be. And then they showed you, like the flashback where you just see the eyes, and it's like that's the extent of it. We're gonna save Dormammu for another movie. So when Dormammu actually showed up at the end, I was like, oh, that's nice. I'm glad we see him in this one.
I know, the villain in this film, I think his head was supposed to be on fire or something. Was it? Whose head was supposed to be on fire?
Dormammu's head was supposed to be on fire. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Lucas was very unsatisfied that his head wasn't on fire, and I was like, what?
Okay, so for me, I have to kind of agree with Lucas because this was dangerously close to giant Galactus Cloud in Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, and also dangerously close to angry orange Parallax Cloud in Green Lantern, because they were taking a character who has a corporeal form and they wanted to make him non-tangible, so they made him this god floating in space. But here's what I think that if they're bringing Dormammu back, which they have to, they will cast an actor and they will put him in a humanoid body. And what is very fun is the voice of Dormammu is Benedict Cumberbatch. And yeah, and he also did the facial motion capture, which I only found out just recently, and I was like, that is a cool idea. He's fighting himself.
I didn't even know that. That's so cool. Good job, Jedd.
Thank you.
I like you being on my show. You know these things that I don't know. Then I can tell my friends that I know these things, and then I'll be smart.
I'm glad I'm useful for one thing.
Yeah, and what else is there? I love how you see when they come there. I mean, when Benedict Cumberbatch and when they go there, and Hong Kong is in shambles and all that place is in shambles, and you see bodies lying everywhere. It's really cool to see them turn back time, and you see how destructive it really was. Like, you didn't even notice that this giant building fell down.
Yeah.
And it was so scary to see that, and I think that really made you want them to win because you know what was gonna happen.
Yeah, and like the scene where they established the time gem's powers when he was experimenting with the apple core, I think that was a very good exposition kind of
visual
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they were like, oh, these are the rules, and we're gonna use this during the climax, so pay attention now. This is how it works. And yeah, that kind of stuff where you have the super slow-mo, freeze frame, phantom camera, 360 degree, the water droplets are floating in the air. We have seen that in quite a number of action movies, but I don't think we have seen it done this way, where they're weaponizing it. They're weaponizing the idea of turning back time as if it was a dial on an oven, and I thought that was really fun. Also, before I forget, one of Caecilius's goons, the big guy, Lucian, so he's the one who does the most fighting. He's played by Scott Adkins. And Scott Adkins was the stunt double of Deadpool at the very end of X-Men Origins Wolverine, when Deadpool was unrecognizable.
Yes.
So this means that Scott Adkins kind of got to redeem himself in a Marvel role. Scott Adkins, like, his bread and butter is all of these direct-to-DVD action movies, which nobody really watches, but it makes him the modern-day equivalent of your Jean-Claude Van Damme, of your Arnold, or your Sylvester Stallone, because he's a real martial arts champ, and he's a stuntman, but he has branched off into actually acting. So he has a small role in this one, and when I saw him, I was like, is that Scott Adkins? And then at the end credits, like, yeah, it is. So I thought that was a nice little bit that they let Scott Adkins do some kung fu.
That's really cool. I'm glad he got that. Scott Adkins.
His signature move is this.
Oh, he's the one that got killed in the fight.
Yeah, his signature move is a flying kick. So he always does that in all of his movies.
I really love his fight with Benedict Cumberbatch in the part after he got stabbed or staked, whatever.
Right, yeah.
And then in the hospital, like that scene was really fun and funny.
The astral fight. Oh, that was so clever. I was really, really thrilled by that. And then I liked the little joke they did with the vending machine, which dispenses an extra bag of chips. And then Michael Stuhlbarg goes, "Oh, more chips." And then he walks back to the vending machine, completely unaware of the fight that is taking place.
Yeah, and I love what's her name again?
Rachel McAdams.
Very pretty girl. Yeah, Rachel McAdams. I love her reactions to it. Like she's just getting shocked by everything, and she's just screaming, and she's super squirmish about, every time something pops up.
Yeah,
I think she's very cute in this film.
She's great.
Like I usually hate the love interest in the Marvel films, except for Peggy in in Captain America.
Yeah, because Peggy does stuff.
Yeah, but I think Rachel McAdams' character is really great. I love her. She's so cute.
I like this character a lot, and I think part of the reason I did is because she is the ex, and they do not get back together. And I thought that was different. That was kind of bold for a Marvel film, and also the character she's playing, Christine Palmer, is one of the women who took up the mantle of night nurse. And we have already another night nurse in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Rosario Dawson's character in Daredevil is Claire Temple. Mm-hmm. So Claire Temple is an amalgamation of night nurse and this character called Temple in the Luke Cage comics. So I think this might be the first character, well, not the first because Ant-Man, but who is a legacy character. So we have more than one version of a superhero character show up within the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Hmm. That's cool.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I don't think I was super clear in explaining that, but yeah, so it's like...
I mean, I get the gist of it.
So hopefully she and Rosario Dawson meet, and hopefully they have a history, like they know each other, or they went to med school together, and they team up or something, because I would be really happy, and I think that it would be very cool if Rachel McAdams showed up in a Defenders show, if she showed up in Daredevil or Jessica Jones, to meet with and cooperate with Rosario Dawson.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether I'll actually see that happen because I don't watch those shows, but
right.
Yeah, I'm still stuck in Daredevil season 2 because it's really boring this season.
Oh, I liked it.
It's more or less the same.
I like
as season 1.
I like Elektra causing problems. She causes a lot of problems.
Oh yeah, I know she, spoiler alert, dies.
Maybe not. Kinda.
Yeah.
And yeah, John Bernthal as the Punisher is so good because he's such an asshole. And yeah, I wasn't prepared to accept him as the Punisher. When I saw the photos, I was not convinced, but I think he did a good job in this season.
Did you like the rooftop scene? I know it's a Daredevil scene, but did you like the rooftop scene more, or did you like the scene in Under the Hood more, the animated film?
Yeah,
where they're talking about killing someone.
I think they went deeper in Daredevil. I think that the philosophy was, I mean, Under the Hood is my favorite Batman thing ever, but at the same time, it is like less than 90-minute animated movie, so they have to keep things concise. But this was a TV series, so they could have an actual long discussion about their philosophies, and you saw that played out on the rooftop scene. But I don't want to bring us too far off track, and this is my fault. So let's return to Doctor Strange.
I prefer the Red Hood one. Okay, let's go.
The magic carpet levitating cloak. Made me so happy. It's cute.
Is that how it is in the comics? Like,
I don't know.
Does it have its own? Oh, okay.
I don't think it's cute. I know that it's like it's a sacred artifact and that it's passed down through the generations, but I don't think it has a mind of its own.
I love it fighting with Doctor Strange when he wants to get the axe or whatever that was.
Yeah.
But then the kid was trying to get the prison thing.
Yeah, and then he was running in place, and then they pulled back and they had a medium shot of him running in place. It was really funny.
Yeah, it's great. Like, I love the humor in this film. It's really on point. I think Marvel films are very funny.
I noticed. Yeah, I felt that okay, so this is that thing again where I have small problems with every Marvel movie being funny, because I think that the stakes in this was so high, but the humor did kind of diminish the stakes. Like, I don't know whether I liked Caecilius quipping against Strange after he has killed the Guardian of the New York Sanctum, and they're sort of like arguing on the stair before they fight.
Oh,
yeah, I thought that was a bit too flippant.
who was it that said shit? I remember like someone swear.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
laughed
someone
really hard
swore.
at that.
I don't know whether it was Mordo or whether it was Strange, but it was one of them. Like maybe it
Oh
was.
yes. By the way, I think they were in London, and the Sherlock Holmes reference I was talking about was like 177B. I forgot what they wrote.
Oh,
Baker Street.
nice, nice. Oh, I
Yeah,
totally didn't catch that. Yeah, that's cool.
I
Yeah,
love that.
cool. Oh, nice. And of course, now Doctor Strange needs to meet Everett Ross. He needs to meet Martin Freeman's character from Civil War. They have to get them in a
Yes.
room somehow. And yeah, I kept on.
I mean, they were reunited as Dragon and Hobbit, so why not again?
Exactly, yeah. In every universe, they'll meet each other, and then they'll
That'd be
almost
so
fall in love,
cute.
but not.
I mean, they're already in love in Sherlock Holmes. I'm just saying.
They're not out with it. They're still very closeted about it. Anyway, yeah, it's the American accents made me so happy. Like I was, my ears were just like tingling with delight. I was like, this is really really good because I had just a few weeks ago heard Ewan McGregor roll his R's really hard to try and sound American, and that's what every English actor does.
I'm judging by your voice. He sounded like Donald Trump.
No, that's probably just the Donald Trump impression leaking into everything that I do. But it sounded like he was Scottish and he was trying not to betray that he was. Yeah, but when I first heard the trailer, I had to do a double take. Is that Cumberbatch? And then it was like the bit where he goes, "How do I get from here to there?" And then I really like that bit. And so I don't believe in chakras and auras. Oh, so good. Yeah.
Are you a pacifist, Jedd? Did you agree? I mean, whose side were you on in this film? Like, were you on the Ancient One's side? Did you sort of see what the villain was trying to do?
I was on the Ancient One's side. I felt that I liked the reveal that she was drawing on the dark dimension to keep herself alive. I liked that she was not infallible, that she had flaws, and that because the whole idea is that you're supposed to treat the Ancient One as if she's not even human, but then that she's sort of like
she's pure.
Yeah, that she's higher than humanity, but then it reveals a very human side of her. So I like that. I like characters like that who are mentors, but I don't think it's a betrayal, because I don't think she was doing that to actively harm her pupils, but it ended up doing that as a side effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't think she had any malice. I think that it was a selfish reason that she did it, but it was understandable.
Oh, I can kind of see from Mordo's side. Like, I guess it's because he respected her so much.
Yeah.
That he kind of went crazy when he found out that she does the one thing that he always felt was the biggest sin, which is, get from the dark side or whatever. So I really like that. That's the reason why he turned.
Yes, it's a good motivation.
Which is why I hope I really hope that that's the reason why he'll be a good villain in the next Doctor Strange film. But I think they're just gonna make him a generic villain by then. Which is kind of sad.
I mean, when I saw the trailer for this, I said, Mordo is Sinestro. That's what they're doing. It's very much like Hal Jordan's origin story, where he has a guy who's training him, but then the guy turns around and betrays the society or the organization and becomes the villain in the next installment, except that a sequel to Green Lantern did not materialize. So I think that that's what they were going for. They were going for Mordo as a Sinestro figure, and I'm waiting for the right time to tweet Kevin Feige, but I want the sequel to be called Doctor Strange 2 Many Sorcerers.
That's actually amazing.
Thank you, Jerry.
By the way, he was such an ass for taking away that guy's
poor Benjamin
chakra
Bratt.
or whatever.
I think that was a very good what do you call it? You call it a face heel turn, where you see this is the seeds of his evil being planted. And interesting thing about Benjamin Bratt, now he's in a Marvel and a DC movie, but he would rather us forget the DC movie he was in. He was in Catwoman as
oh right, the love
Halle
interest.
Berry's love interest. And funny thing, he plays basketball in both.
Oh yes, yes, yes. Okay.
So I thought that was a funny little detail that Benjamin Bratt,
Well,
yeah.
it says here on Rotten Tomatoes he's also Superman in Justice League Gods and
That's
Monsters.
right, yeah. In that version, it's an alternate Superman who is Mexican, who is raised by Mexican parents. So he's Gods and Monsters is set in a parallel universe. So they change all of the origins of the Justice League characters slightly or drastically, depending on the character. And for example, Batman is not Bruce Wayne. He is Kirk Langstrom. He is Man-Bat. So he's basically a vampire. He's a living vampire. And Wonder Woman is Becca. She is from the fourth world. There's a whole other thing going with that, which was fun. Yeah, I liked Gods and Monsters.
I haven't seen that yet.
It's yeah.
Well,
Oh, I would
I do
also
plan to. I do plan to keep up with the DC animated films, but just the thought of seeing Batman's child pisses me off. I don't
right.
like that kid.
Well, I would highly recommend Batman Return of the Cape Crusaders, the new one that just came out. That is the one with Adam West reprising his role as Batman, Burt Ward as Robin, and Julie Newmar as Catwoman. So it's set within the universe of the 60s TV show.
Have you seen
I
that?
just watched it. Just came out. It's so
Was
funny.
it amazing?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There was
I will
some
definitely watch that.
there were some bits where the pacing was a bit off, but there were a lot of jokes that took me by surprise. It's like I love this reference and I love this reference and I love this reference. But yeah,
Is it a lot of references to the TV show? Because I didn't watch it besides the ones that are on YouTube.
it's mostly
The funny bits.
it's mostly references to other Batman things. So it's kind of
Oh.
there's a bit of a meta undertone of how that silly camp Batman coexists with dark Batman. And
Okay.
and they do a bit of a commentary on that, which I think is pretty clever. But it's also very weird to hear 60-year-old Burt Ward try to sound like he's a teenager again.
Let's talk about the cameo
Yeah,
that Doctor Strange had. I love the cameo. It's Thor. It's Chris Hemsworth. I love him.
yeah.
I'm not a fan of the Thor character, but I love Chris Hemsworth so
I
much,
love
and
how
I
he
love it when Chris
plays.
Hemsworth is trying to be funny.
Yeah, I love how he plays the character. I mean, that's when Chris Hemsworth was in this movie called Black Hat and he was playing a hacker. I said, no way, I like that Chris Hemsworth is playing the sort of the dumb guy in Avengers because I think that plays to his strengths. I'm not saying Chris Hemsworth is dumb in real life, but I think that it's a lot more fun when the muscular, good-looking guy is a little bit dumb, is a little bit of a jock, and I like that is Thor's function. That he has a childlike naivete to him. He's not a bad guy, but he's sometimes a little bit hot-headed, and I like that. He has a lot of character development also. He grows a lot through those movies.
So, I mean, when you start off from that low, I assume you have to have some sort of character development.
Exactly, yeah. And so, this is what I think they're doing with the first mid-credit scene, is that it's kind of like at the end of Ant-Man, the post-credit scene was set in the middle of Civil War. So I think this is in the middle of Ragnarok. Yeah.
Okay.
So we are finding them somewhere in the middle of the new Thor movie because they say they're looking for Odin. So that means by this time they know that Loki was impersonating Odin, and now Loki and Thor are in New York looking for Odin or whatever. So this is in the middle of Ragnarok.
Well, I'm really looking forward to the next Thor film, mostly because of the director. But
yeah, oh my gosh, Taika Waititi. And also Cate Blanchett as the villain. I think that's fun casting.
I hope they use her well, man.
Me too. Yeah, I hope she's awesome.
She's fantastic in Cinderella. She's so deliciously evil in that.
Yes.
Well, not evil, but she's deliciously.
She's having
menacing?
Fun with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as well. I know a lot of people don't like that movie, but the main reason that I kind of like it is because she's really silly in that movie. It's not a scary villain, but she's having fun. And Jeff Goldblum is in it as well, and I think Taika Waititi brought in Sam Neill, so we might have a reunion of Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park. Maybe. So I would be very happy when they do that. But there's gonna be a shitstorm because of the casting of a black lady as Valkyrie. So here we go. Yeah.
Well.
So brace yourselves for November 2017. And I'm very curious as to the tone because Taika Waititi is a comedic director. I mean, he has done serious work before, but he's a comedic director, and Mark Ruffalo called it a buddy movie. But Ragnarok is the death of all the gods. Ragnarok is just this cataclysmic event. So how are they gonna balance the tone? I'm very curious about that.
If Civil War can be funny, I'm pretty sure Thor Ragnarok will be funny too.
I don't think
I'm very convinced. I'm very convinced that Ragnarok is more of a comedy than it is a dramatic action set piece.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious because when you say Ragnarok, Ragnarok is, it's the apocalypse, it's revelation for the Norse gods. So we'll see how that goes. And yeah, so you like that Thor was in the mid-credit scene.
Yeah, I think I like Thor when he's not in his movies.
Interesting. So you like him in what else has he been? Avengers, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't like him in Avengers 2. Alright, I guess I...
He took a bath in the cave.
Okay, the first Thor was alright because I liked Thor being confused. The second one, I don't even remember what happened.
I like the second one.
It was... oh, I'm sorry. I don't know whether I was just really sleepy or I just couldn't be bothered.
I think I would encourage you to give it a second chance.
I think it's because it focused so much on Natalie Portman that I just didn't care.
I would encourage you to give it a second chance. I think the way they handled Frigga's death was beautiful. The whole, the funeral procession and the impact that it had. It's another dead mother plot, but I think they did it very well.
I like that you see Loki freaking out. That was one of the only good parts of the film for me. The other one was that woman putting her chest on Thor. That was really
fun. What was it? Oh, Zachary Levi, the voice of Flynn Rider, was Fandral the Dashing. He had replaced Josh Dallas from the first movie.
Who replaced him?
Yeah,
in the first
initially,
film.
That's right. So I like that. I was very thrilled to see Zachary Levi swash and buckle, and I am a little bit disappointed by. I mean, it's not confirmed, but apparently the Warriors 3 and Lady Sif are not going to be in Thor Ragnarok.
Oh.
Yeah, because
I'm sure it'll be a big movie.
There's too many other people in it. It sounds like they're not going to be in it. But Jamie Alexander is busy with Blind Spot, which I have just gotten into. I like it. It's pretty fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, whoops, I guess we went off the tangent again.
We did.
But Doctor Strange was great.
I
mean, there's really nothing much to talk about Doctor Strange, to be honest, because there's nothing else. I feel like it's just a good film. It's very fun. Visually, it's interesting. The characters are great, but I think it's mainly because of the actors playing them. The story is formulaic, but it's told well enough that I don't mind it. By the way, Jedd.
Yes.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Your Name is coming out this week. Please go watch that. I don't know whether you'll get any screening for that, but if just try.
I think I had a screening, but I had already RSVP'd to something else. Oh, it clashed with the Denial screening, so yeah. So I went for. I had already RSVP'd to the Holocaust movie.
I guess that's more important. So I shouldn't say anything.
No, but I'm glad that it's being brought in after hearing your review. So yeah, it's being brought in.
Yeah, I'm watching it this Friday. Woo!
Cool. Oh wait, there was one thing that I nearly forgot. At the end of the end credits, just before we get the last post-credit scene, there's a little PSA about driving while distracted.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was so funny because it makes this the world's most expensive do not text and drive PSA ever filmed.
Yeah, I missed that. I know I saw some scroll. It was at the end of the film, right?
Yes, at the very end.
I saw this wall of text.
It was no animals were harmed, and then they had do not drive while distracted.
Yeah, I didn't see that, so I was wondering what that was, and was hoping it was some sort of joke, but apparently it's a PSA.
It's a bit of it. I mean, I thought it was no raccoons or tree creatures were harmed in the making of this film. Which will bring us to trailers and movie news very shortly.
Let's just go on to that now.
Segue. Yeah, okay.
Speaking of Marvel,
Guardians
of the Galaxy 2 teaser.
Yay!
Fantastic.
Oh, so much fun. I miss these guys. I miss this team. I miss these characters.
Same.
I miss James Gunn. So and I like he's replying everybody on his Facebook, which is nuts.
He didn't reply
No,
me.
I'm sorry.
I commented, hey, can you please come back to Singapore and bring Chris Pratt with you? And he didn't reply
I think
me.
if he replies that will, because he can't. I think that's not been written.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
stone,
I know.
So I understand that. But you will be going to try and catch a glimpse of Aioli Caraballo, right, this week or next week?
I don't think I can because of work.
I wish they brought The Rock. I'm sorry. I was disappointed
okay.
when I found out they didn't bring The Rock. But I think the main attraction of that press conference will be the artists. I think that they have like some of the technical directors from Indonesia and from Singapore who are kind of like hometown heroes because they have worked on Disney movies.
Yeah, I'm so jealous of them. You know,
Yeah, it's a big deal, man. Yeah.
I'm still feeling the sting of Disneyland. Like I'm so homesick for Disneyland,
No.
and I feel like the only thing that can help me, that can cure me from this homesickness is to actually work for Disney. So that's my goal now. No, I'm just kidding. I love my work. Please don't fire me. I do genuinely love my work. I'm doing what I love, and that's great. Okay, so how about so did you like the Guardians? Okay, you obviously did. So what is it about it that you love so much about Guardians? The teaser.
Baby Groot.
Of course.
I need his voice to still be Vin Diesel. I need him to open the tiny mouth and go, I am Groot, and I think that'll be hilarious.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they'll do that.
Yeah.
Like I think they'll give him like the baby voice first, and like near the end, when everything is going down, he'll be like, oh, I'm Groot, and suddenly, I am Groot, or something like that.
Yeah, a little bit like in Rise of the Guardians when Easter Bunny opens its mouth and it's Hugh Jackman still.
Oh,
that
yes,
was
yes.
funny.
I remember that was cute.
And I like the promise of more Nebula. I think Karen Gillan is awesome, and I'm glad that she's in more stuff. She's gonna be in that Jumanji sequel as well. Like, I love Karen Gillan from Doctor Who, Amy. Like,
no, as in Jumanji. That sounds familiar.
it's the board game comes to life movie that Robin Williams did.
Oh, right,
so
right.
now many years later, they're doing not a remake, they're doing a sequel with The Rock, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and Karen Gillan. So the four of them.
Oh, I remember that. Like that's the one where they look like they're in the jungle or something.
Yes, they're in the jungle, and Karen Gillan's clothes are too small. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I like her, and I think her character of Nebula is so different from Amy Pond. So it was really, that was one of the novelty factors of Guardians, of the first Guardians, was seeing her do such a different role and seeing the dynamic between her and Gamora. And we haven't seen any of the new characters in the trailer, right? We haven't seen Mantis or Eagle or Kismet, so none of them are in the teaser yet, which is okay.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never heard of those characters before. My favorite part is when Chris Pratt was talking to, well, he was pouring his heart out to Drax. You know, why doesn't Gamora love him or something? And he's like, don't worry, you'll find an idiot like you one day.
You need a woman.
And I think that was really sweet.
Like you.
Yeah. Oh,
Do you need a heart?
Yes, I love Drax. I think the whole cast is just, they have amazing chemistry, and it's so nice to see them again.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to this film.
This is cool, and I mean, yeah, they're adding Kurt Russell, which is insane. And Kurt Russell is gonna be his dad, who is a planet. Like what? Yeah. So I hope that this will be even more surprising than the previous one was. I hope that they let James Gunn go weird and get silly and get huge with the action. So I'm looking forward to it. I think that he's more than proven himself, and I'm sure Marvel, Kevin Feige is like, whatever you want, man. I don't think anybody's stopping him.
Yeah, and I think it's also because Guardians, it's more separated from the MCU, right, so he has more freedom to do what he wants. And okay, let's see, Logan trailer next.
Oh,
so good.
Yeah, the use of Johnny Cash's cover of Hurt, which is such a beautiful, heartrending song, and originally it was performed by Nine Inch Nails. It's written by Trent Reznor, and this is one of those cases where the cover is so much better than the original, because Johnny Cash really gives it that depth and that pain, and you can feel the experience of his life. And I think that they're purposely styling Logan to look a little bit like Johnny Cash because he's wearing a dress shirt in the desert. He's wearing a coat. So there's a bit of a formal cowboy aesthetic, which is what Johnny Cash looked like. So I think that that is a conscious decision on James Mangold's part. And James Mangold, he has done some westerns. He did 310 to Yuma. So I like that they're embracing the nature of Logan as a loner, as a drifter, in a western sort of world.
I really love this trailer because it feels like a very small film for a blockbuster film.
Yeah.
I know I'm pretty sure everyone has said this before, but it's very Last of Us. I mean, it looks
because
I hope it's not Last of Us because Last of Us was way too sad for my taste. Like, it's very emotionally manipulative, and I didn't really like it. I mean, the story was sad.
Yeah, I've heard
it made
that
me
from
sad.
some people as well.
Yeah, but I really hope the film is similar in tone with this trailer and not just a well-cut trailer, Suicide Squad. But
no, I thought the Suicide Squad trailer was very in line with the tone of the movie.
No, it wasn't.
I think it was. Which one are you talking about? Is it about I Started the Joke? The I Started the Joke trailer or the Ballroom Blitz trailer?
The second one. I forgot what.
Oh, the Bohemian Rhapsody one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I think that it was that was the movie I was expecting. That was the movie I got. But anyway, with Logan, I think this will be a fitting end to Hugh Jackman's tenure in the role. I think that they're giving it an amount of respect, and I like that this doesn't look like, which was the concern all of us had, like it's R for R-ratedness sake. Like, it looks like the R-ratedness will help
the tone.
Yeah. It will help make it it'll help it hit home. And I think we need to see Logan really lash out. We need to see him really disembowel people. And it's like, he needs to be at his most desperate here. And I love that they're reuniting him with Patrick Stewart, and it's so sad when you look back at when they were all so young, and Patrick Stewart was only in his 60s or his 50s, and when they first met in X-Men, and when Hugh Jackman looked at him and said, "What do they call you, Wheels?"
What's your story speculation for this? Because I know Hugh Jackman said it was Old Man Logan.
Yeah.
But I heard also that's not possible because all the character rights belong to Disney Marvel.
Yes, yeah.
So they can't do that story.
Yeah,
so what do you think the story's about?
I think the story is about the discovery that he has a child. It's about X-23, and I think that they might have another clone waiting to fight him, because in the international trailer, he is shown fighting somebody else with claws. So the speculation that could be Daken, who is his son with a Japanese woman. It could also be Romulus, who is this other character. So I think that they're hiding villains from us, and the main villain could be maybe Mr. Sinister, could be Nathaniel Essex pulling the strings behind the scenes. And we know that Richard E. Grant is playing a mad scientist, but that's all they're calling him. They're saying a mad scientist. And then Boyd Holbrook, the main villain, like this military guy with the short blonde hair and the mustache, he is playing a character called Donald Pierce. And in the books, Donald Pierce is the leader of the Reavers, who are these cyborg and Han soldiers. So we don't know whether or not they're just going to be regular military dudes, or whether they are going to be half robots like they are in the comics.
I honestly thought that one of the villains looked like Tom Felton.
A little bit.
But I think Tom Felton was... Well, what's the big comic book
He's in the
thing
Flash.
that he's going to be... Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's Barry Allen's asshole partner.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
He's he keeps on trying to one up him at work, and it's like, you're useless at this CSI thing, I'm better than you. So that's his character.
So literally Draco Malfoy.
Yep. And kind of speaking of which, I really wanted Jason Isaacs to play Doctor Strange. Lucius Malfoy.
Isn't he old?
A little bit too old. Yeah, I know. But I thought that he has the sort of the presence and the
gravitas.
Yeah, the gravitas, exactly. The suaveness about him. Yeah, so that is the Logan trailer, and interesting that X-23 is as young as she is. I like that. I think that there's some opportunity to have a child in the middle of really horrific violence that could go either way. It could be very manipulative, but it could also be really emotional and very badass. So I hope that I hope they go the right direction with putting a kid in the middle of, an R-rated action movie.
I have said this before, but I just love how messed up the X-Men timeline is. It's so dumb. I love it.
Yeah, I have
like
no
it doesn't
idea,
make sense,
yeah.
right? Because Days of Future Past, he came back into the future and everything was great and fine, and now everything has just gone to shit again within a year.
I think that.
So that's great.
Okay, so there are a few options with this. I think this may just be following the timeline of the Wolverine,
so now it has become like the Zelda timeline where it's split.
Where they branch off. Yeah, I think so. I think so, because the implication is that all the mutants have died except for Professor X and Wolverine and Caliban, who's kind of like Professor X's caretaker. So that cannot be the good future of Days of Future Past. And it cannot be the bad future either, because everybody survived to live in the Great Wall of China. So maybe this is floating off on its own island, like you said, messed up. Makes no sense. But I don't think that will stand in the way of us appreciating or enjoying this if it ends up being anything like this teaser trailer, which is one of the best teaser trailers in a long time. Yeah, it's good, really good.
In a long time, as in Guardians of the Galaxy too long.
Yeah.
So one day.
One day, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I experienced time much slower than you mortals do.
Okay, so two big movies lost their directors this week.
Yeah.
First is Tim Miller for Deadpool 2. Yeah. I think we have to put this together because we're running out of time.
Yeah, let's farm it together. Rick Famuyiwa from The Flash.
Yeah. Which one are you sadder
Tim Miller,
for?
Because he's already proven himself with Deadpool 1, and I think that this was a case of Ryan Reynolds' ego. I think that he had the sources within Fox, they told like Hollywood Reporter that he had gotten a lot of clout, like he had gotten a lot of power after the success of Deadpool, and he, as a producer, was able to muscle Tim Miller out when they disagreed on something.
Which is mainly it's the casting.
Yeah, I think they were arguing about the casting of Cable or the casting of Domino, or both, because like they have the short list of women for Domino, and of that short list, I like Mary Elizabeth Winstead the best. But I really wanted Jenna Malone. I will say this forever. Jenna Malone as Domino. Come on, guys. Yeah. She's basically playing Domino in Hunger Games. Yeah.
For me, I think it's The Flash.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's a very PC answer, but I always thought that it was nice to have a black director directing a blockbuster film that stars a white guy.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, we talked about this when he was brought on, and we were both saying what a wonderful thing this is for the DC movies and how, we're finally going to move forward. And over the past few years, we have seen directors who have made smaller movies, made smaller comedies or dramas, really prove themselves with big blockbusters, like the Russo brothers. We've seen a lot of that.
But one thing I'm glad is, I think they were planning to bully him. And I'm really glad that he walked out on it, if that's the case.
Like Patty Jenkins with Thor 2. Yeah, I think that's you're right. That's probably what happened, where they were gonna try and make him agree to things that would not fit into his vision, and he didn't want to compromise, and so he left. But at the same time, oh boy, the DC Cinematic Universe has problems, and I think that this is another thing the vultures are going to seize on, that everyone is going to be like, oh, this is a wounded bird, let's kick it. So I hope that they move past it quickly enough and regain their footing and run ahead forward, pun intended. Because I don't think the DC Cinematic Universe is a lost cause. Not at all. I think that Justice League looks promising. I think Wonder Woman looks promising. I think that they're bringing in interesting people, and yeah, I was really looking forward to what Rick Famuyiwa would do. So yeah,
okay.
I am sadder about Deadpool though, because I feel like I really believe the story that Ryan Reynolds bullied Tim Miller out of the spot.
Okay, let's wrap it up. This week, Ouija.
Ouija, Origin of Evil. If for some reason it's pronounced Ouija.
That is called Ouija.
Yeah, for some reason that's the official pronunciation. It makes no sense, but yeah, okay. We'll call it whatever you want.
Your Name is coming out. Kimi no Na wa. I'm gonna watch that. Trolls, I'm gonna watch that too. I'm looking forward to Trolls mainly because there's this song called True Colors, and I've listened to the soundtrack and it sounds really sad, so I'm looking forward to that one.
I said no to Trolls. I said I'm not gonna go for that. So
Apparently, it's decent
uh,
according to Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah, I know. I've heard that it's decent, but I was like, I have other things to deal with. Can I not? So
Like Max Steel.
yeah. I will always go for the stupid action movie, like over anything else. So, because that is my bread and butter. I don't have problems writing about those. I have problems writing about the Holocaust movies.
Oh, and your favorite film of the year, Fallen. Well, we have to think of something to talk about in 2 weeks because
Yeah.
there's nothing coming out in 2 weeks unless you want to watch Death Note, which I have no idea what it's
No,
about.
I'm not watching Death Note. Yeah, we
So
could do a retrospective.
maybe you have to watch Trolls.
There is no have to about it.
Oh, unless you watch Your Name. Come on, I'm convincing you to watch Kimi no Na wa. Come on, this is your chance.
We'll think of something.
We're gonna watch Kimi no Na wa. Come on. Okay, no, that's alright. You choose what you want. I'm fine with anything.
Yay. Yeah, we'll think of it when we get to it in 2 weeks.
Okay. See ya.
All right. Bye bye. Thank you.